What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video and welcome back to another season recap on my season recap series. Today we're doing the 9th team on the list. Surprisingly, I gotten this far. Hopefully I get all the way to 32, but surprisingly I gotten this far. We're on the Buffalo Bills today. Quickly before I start, I do want to say that Spot Rack, the website I use for doing some research on free agents and salary cap and things like that, just came out with a new feature where you could virtually sign free agents and trade free agents, and trade players, sign free agents, restructure contracts, and things like that. You can do pretty much anything, and I'll be using that for this segment from now on. So with the Buffalo Bills, I will be signing them using actual cap space, signing free agents, cutting guys, things like that. So yeah, with that being said, let's get right into it. So the Buffalo Bills, they're coming off their first playoff appearance since 1999. And listen, the offense has been a problem. Taron Taylor wasn't the only problem. A lot of people thought Taron Taylor was just the problem. He's not the problem. We've seen that already. Now, did the Buffalo Bills make a mistake in drafting Josh Allen? I don't know what to say yet, because he's shown some flashes, not too much as a pure pocket passer, but just a guy to move the chains. He almost led the team in rushing this year with just about 600 yards, but didn't do much in the passing game. We have to see what we get from Josh Allen. We all knew he was mobile and things like that, and I don't like Josh Allen yet. I felt like he needed to sit behind a very good quarterback for a couple years, a decent quarterback for about 1 to 2 years. I don't think he's ready to start yet. A lot of people are still on his bandwagon, but I just don't like the quarterback out of Wyoming. I thought they could have gone in a better situation, a better area, but I believe that was pretty much the only quarterback there besides Lamar Jackson. I think Josh Rosen was already taken, and I believe obviously Sam Darnold was already taken, Baker Mayfield was taken. They had to get what they can get, so they got themselves Josh Allen. Starting off in the beginning of the season, they trade off A.J. McCarron to the Oakland Raiders, which is I don't understand that move whatsoever, because then you're just left with Josh Allen and Matt Barkley, and I believe Matt Barkley was signed. I can't remember who was signed late, but it's a quarterback carousel over there. Then they had Derek Anderson as well, that threw like 4 interceptions in the game. I mean, that was terrible. Derek Anderson should just retire. But it's a quarterback carousel over there, and that's just not their problem. They have a huge problem at wide receiver. Where are they going to have a number 1 wide receiver? They got rid of Kelvin Benjamin. They don't have anybody else there. So they have to target a wide receiver next season. And let's talk about their defense now. Their defense is top notch. You got your number 1 corner, Tre'Davious White. Everybody loved Tre'Davious White coming out the draft. They thought it was a huge sleeper in the draft, and he's becoming one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL right now out of LSU. And there's a big spot there at the second cornerback position, which is not too much of a big deal. I feel like you guys will fill that. That's pretty much the only weakness to that defense. You guys have a stout defense, probably top 3 in the NFL right now. That offense needs some shaping up. You have to develop your quarterback as well. I don't know how you're going to do it now that you don't have any mentors for him, but Derek Anderson and Matt Barkley. And I mean, I don't know what to say there. Quarterback is definitely a huge problem there in Buffalo, and that's pretty much the only thing that's going to be holding you guys back from making a playoff run, because the defense is A-okay. I'm not worried about the defense whatsoever. So let's start off with your best and worst games. You start off with your best game when you beat the Jets 41-10 in Week 10. And I believe that was when Matt Barkley completely went off out of nowhere. He looked like the quarterback of the future for you guys. But obviously, I don't think you guys are going to go in Matt Barkley's direction. But it's a nice thought, because, to have Matt Barkley start for a little bit, then have Josh Allen come in later on in the year or next season, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. Give Josh Allen a redshirt year to just sit there and just learn. Because I'm not liking Josh Allen's first stats of his career, his rookie stats of his career. It's not very good whatsoever. It's probably the poorest out of all quarterbacks. I haven't looked at the Baltimore Ravens yet with Lamar Jackson, but it's probably the poorest out of all rookie quarterbacks to start. Now let's look at your worst game, in which the Chicago Bears demolished you guys, I believe at home, 41-9 in Week 9. So you get beat in Week 9 badly, and then you badly beat up on the Jets, which I guess is a good bounce back, but you don't want to be giving up 41 points, especially with a great defense like that. You don't want to be giving up 41 points, but it is what it is thereon. Here are the team stats for the Buffalo Bills. We have offensively, they're scoring 16.8 points per game. That is 30th in the league. You're going to see that when you're in the top 10 of the draft. A lot of teams are scoring in the latter half rankings when it comes to points per game and things like that. When you can't score points offensively, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. We've seen that in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. If you can't score points, it doesn't matter. All right, total yards per game, they're ranking 30th in the league, and that's not good. That means they're not controlling time of possession. I don't know. I didn't look up the time of possession for this team, but obviously it's not good when you're only having about 298 yards, not even 300 yards per game. That shows you're getting off the field. You're not converting on third down. You're not moving the ball down the field, and you're not getting in enemy territory, so you're not scoring points. You're not controlling time of possession. You're not even running the ball very well. So that's how you know that obviously this is a losing team. 31st in passing with 174 yards passing, and 9th in rushing with 124. So that's good. Josh Allen really helped out with that stat, as well as LeSean McCoy whenever he can. But LeSean McCoy didn't have a very good season this year. Neither did Chris Ivory. So let's move on defensively, and it's very impressive defensively. Sure, they're giving up a lot of points per game. Not so much you want to see in a top defense like the Buffalo Bills. They're giving up about 23.4 points per game, but you got to understand they're always on the field. The offense can't do anything. Of course, they're going to bend a little bit, but you have to look at these stats right now. They are second in the league in total yards. That means they're stopping guys. Obviously, they're giving up a lot of points, probably because the opponents are starting with really good field position because of all the turnovers and all things happening with the offense. So obviously they're not in a good spot, the defense is, but they're not giving up as much yards. They're second in the league in yards given up with 294. They're first in the league with passing yards given up with 179. So quarterbacks are not being able to pass, but they are somewhat running on them. 16th in the league in giving up the run, 114 yards on the ground. When it comes to total sacks, they've had 36 sacks this season, which I want to see a little bit more when it comes to a top defense. They definitely need some pass rush help. They don't have as much very good pass rushers on there. That's something they need to target in the draft and free agency. They just have Jerry Hughes there, and that's pretty much their number one pass rusher. They need to get a little bigger there at pass rusher. And they gave up 41 sacks this season, so obviously you want to see that get better. And that tackle spot is very questionable. It's so average that it's not needed of upgrading so quickly, but it's not needed of. But you shouldn't abandon it. You know what I mean? They're in that area. The tackles are in that area where you don't know if you need to upgrade or if you don't know if you just need to let it stay the same and see how it works out for that tackle spot. So I don't know what they're going to do there, but Jonah Williams is a perfect pick at number 9. Turnover ratio is -5. Seems like it's always -5 with these teams, and their record was 6-10, third in the AFC East. So let's move on to their player stats. We have Josh Allen, who leads the way with 2,024 yards, a 52.8 completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, sacked 28 times, and had a quarterback rating of 67.9, so not very good whatsoever. Like I said, it is his rookie year. We'll see what happens, but he's just not the guy I would have drafted. I probably would have waited till next season to draft a quarterback. I just don't think he's the future for Buffalo, and I think they wasted a pick on Josh Allen. But it is what it is. Let's go on to the other passers. Derek Anderson with no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then you have Matt Barkley, who played one game in a very good game in which he beat the Jets 41-10. 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. He looked on the money with the Buffalo Bills in that game. We'll see what happens next season as far as Matt Barkley goes. Next, we have the rushing leaders. Josh Allen leads the way with 89 rushes, 639 yards, a 7.1 yard average, and 8 touchdowns. So he actually did a lot on the ground, more so you could argue in the passing game, which is kind of questionable to me. It just looks like he's another Tim Tebow type player, and I hope he's not. He just needs to sharpen up on his passing skills, man. It's not very good. So then we look at LeSean McCoy, who did not have a very good year on the ground. He was also beat up as well. I'm very happy the Giants did not trade for LeSean McCoy after those rumors in free agency. So he had 161 attempts, 514 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chris Ivory, just about 400 yards and 1 touchdown, 3.3 yards per carry. Not very good. We look at the receiving game. The receiving game for the Buffalo Bills, Zay Jones leads the way with 56 receptions, 652 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So not a terrible year. He's not a number 1 wide receiver, obviously, but you guys got him with, I believe, a 2nd or 3rd round pick, so he's not going to be a huge guy for you guys. I think he's putting up the numbers he should. It's just that you don't have a number one wide receiver, so he just looks worse. But then you look at Robert Foster, the undrafted guy. 27 receptions, 541 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So not too bad for him getting some undrafted production out of you guys. Not very bad whatsoever. You guys also had an undrafted tight end put in some work in Jason Kroom. 22 receptions, 259 yards, and a touchdown. So I guess some production there. You have your tackle leader, your rookie linebacker, your other 1st round pick, Tremaine Edmunds, the youngest starting linebacker, I believe, in like NFL history or something. The youngest guy drafted in the 1st round in NFL history, I believe. He was drafted, I believe, at 19 years old. Some NBA type stuff right there. But Tremaine Edmunds, 121 tackles, 80 of them solo. Nobody's even talking about him. Also added 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. So had a very good year with Buffalo. He's going to be a cornerstone for you guys for years to come at the inside linebacker position. You look at Jordan Poyer as well. Another guy, I believe he was a 7th round pick from Philadelphia or something like that. Went on and shined with the Browns and came on to the Buffalo Bills and did the same thing. He also had 100 tackles, 73 of them solo. Also had 2 sacks and 1 forced fumble. He played himself a very good year. Not very much people are talking about him, but he's another good piece, very good young piece for that offense, for that defense, and should be for years to come. And also, he led you guys in interceptions with 4 interceptions. So you guys, definitely the defensive MVP might just be Jordan Poyer. Let's look at your sacks leaders. You guys have Jerry Hughes, the getting older, but still very good Jerry Hughes at defensive end with 7 sacks. Then you have Lorenzo Alexander. I keep getting him mixed up with Lorenzo Carter. Lorenzo Alexander, who had 7.5 sacks, coming off of that great season he had last year, which he came on out of nowhere, but he's still producing this year. I don't know what he's smoking. I don't know what kind of craft he's doing, but it's working out for him in his old age. Let's move on now to your 2018 draft class. And look, you guys definitely tried your best in this draft class. It didn't completely work out the way you guys wanted it to. You guys kind of tried to substitute your needs with these lower tier draft picks, and it just didn't work out in your favor too well. We look at your first pick, and that was Josh Allen. Like I said, I thought you guys could have gotten a better option there. If you guys wanted to trade up, you guys should have. I think you guys did trade up, and you guys were at, I believe we're at the 12th pick or something like that. Then you guys traded up to the 7th or something like that. I can't remember, but I know you guys had 2 first-round picks. You guys did get Josh Allen. See what happens there. I'm sure Buffalo fans watching this video are not too keen about Josh Allen, not too happy about Josh Allen, but it is what it is. And then you guys move on to Tremaine Edmunds, who was probably your better first-round pick, and he did produce for you guys there. He's going to be your cornerstone linebacker for years to come. You guys then drafted, I believe, in the 3rd round, Harrison Phillips, defensive tackle. He's going to be the replacement for Kyle Williams. I think Kyle Williams gave him the honor of being replaced by him or whatever, but he reminds me a lot of Kyle Williams. Very big defensive tackle that can stop the run. He has some stuff to clean up, and he's behind the depth chart a little bit, but I'm sure he's going to work his way up there just fine. Very good value there in the 3rd round. You then move on to Taron Johnson out of the 4th round, the cornerback. He's a very injury-prone slot cornerback. He did get a lot of reps at slot cornerback, and I think he'll be a very good pick for you guys if he can stay healthy. You guys got some good talent there in the 4th round. You then move on to Siran Neal, another cornerback, which is primarily used for special teams. I think he's performed well at special teams. We'll see what you get from Siran Neal. Then you look at Wyatt Teller, who's a decent rookie for you guys at guard. Another developmental guard that you guys have, just like a Deion Dawkins at tackle. Developmental guy. We'll see what happens. I don't know what to say as far as Wyatt Teller, but we'll see what happens with him at that offensive guard position. But if he doesn't perform well, I imagine the Buffalo Bills will try to replace him with somebody else. There are some decent guards in free agency, and I believe he can be replaced. We'll see what happens. We then move on to 2 wide receivers, and that's Ray-Ray McCloud, who has not done anything for the team, and then Austin Proehl, who did not even make the roster. I believe he made the practice squad, and well, I mean, we'll see what happens with Austin Proehl, but you know, these 2 guys are pretty much irrelevant to me. Almost Mr. Irrelevant. Austin Proehl was 7th pick, 255 overall. I believe Mr. Irrelevant is 256 overall. So just about Mr. Irrelevant. So, yeah, that's your 2018 draft class. You got some pretty good production in the first half, but, I mean, relatively nothing in the latter half. So we'll see what happens with your draft class moving forward, but I'm just not liking it. I'll probably give it a C-, if anything. So we look at your free agents. You have Kyle Williams. Obviously, he retired, so don't worry about him. Jordan Mills should be a very good swing tackle. I don't know if you guys want to move forward with him in the future as your right tackle. If you guys could re-sign him to a swing tackle type deal, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. But just you have to find a way to force yourself to replace what is needed, to upgrade at positions that is needed. Don't just put Jordan Mills in there to start, and then you don't figure out the position there, and you guys are still having the same offensive line problems. You guys have to figure out something at offensive line. You then move on to defensive tackle Jordan Phillips. I mean, you can if you want to, but you do have your second-year player in Harrison Phillips. I say just stick with Harrison Phillips and see where you go. Then you move on to running back Taron Jones, who doesn't know if he wants to be a running back or a cornerback. So I don't know what you want to do with him. I really don't care. Then you look at tight end Logan Thomas. You need all the tight ends you can get. You need all the targets you can get. You guys really don't have any receiving targets on that team. So try to get yourself a player there in Logan Thomas. Then you have wide receiver Deontay Thompson. He's been bouncing around the league. I don't think Deontay Thompson is that bad. So I think you guys can keep Deontay Thompson. Then you have guard John Miller. I guess you can resign him. Cornerback Lafayette Pitts. Just let him go. I know I've heard that he may be some decent talent there, decent depth there, but try to get yourself some better cornerbacks, man. You really do. I feel like when teams just sign cornerbacks for depth, they wind up just using them as starters, and I don't think you should do that. Just let them go and force yourself to get yourself a decent player. Then you have center Ryan Groy, who filled in for, I believe his name was Bodine at center. So go ahead and resign him just in case another instance happens that Bodine gets hurt once again. So let's go on to what you guys need next season. Your top 3 needs and your honorable mention needs. Let's start off with offensive line. You definitely need to shore up that offensive line. Help your future quarterback, your future franchise quarterback, not get blindsided all the time. 41 sacks is just not acceptable. Try to upgrade that position. Then you move on to wide receiver. Get yourself some options for wide receiver for your quarterback. You guys have Zay Jones. Okay. You guys have Robert Foster, that undrafted guy. Okay. Who else do you guys have? Deontay Thompson, the free agent. We don't even know you're bringing him back. You guys need to go wide receiver. In the second round, I think Hollywood Brown out of Oklahoma would be a perfect option for you guys. Go ahead and get somebody, a big playmaker, whether someone that can stretch the field or a possession receiver. It doesn't matter. You got guys like Cody Latimer in free agency. You guys have guys like Tyro Williams in free agency. You guys have Randall Cobb. So you guys have a pretty good options there at wide receiver just to bring in and give your quarterback someone to throw to. Then you have cornerback. You guys have a big hole at cornerback. Slot cornerback's the question. You guys don't know if Taron Johnson is going to stay healthy. And then the other cornerback, the number 2 cornerback besides Tre'Davious White, what are you going to do there? So cornerback is another big hole there for that defense. So those are your top 3 needs. You look at your honorable mention needs. You have running backs. Definitely you got running backs. LeSean McCoy is entering 32 years old. He's not producing for you guys anymore. Chris Ivory is also in his 30s, and you guys don't have any other running backs. You have Marcus Murphy. Okay, what are you going to do with him? Then you have Josh Allen. He's a quarterback. Get yourself a running back. And then you have tight end. Tight end is your last need. Charles Clay is getting older. He's not producing anymore. You guys have Logan Thomas back there. I don't know who. I forgot who else you guys have back there. I can't remember. But it's another guy that's just not good enough. So I mean, get yourself another tight end. Max Williams is in free agency. He's going to be kicked out of Baltimore with those decent tight ends there. So he's going to be kicked out. And then you have guys like Luke Wilson. You guys got Jared Cook. You guys got a couple of decent options at tight end you guys can go for in free agency, not necessarily the draft. So go ahead and pick yourself one up in free agency. Not too much of a big deal. So I'm going to throw up on the screen right now the moves I've made for the Buffalo Bills. Let's throw it right up. Okay, so I re-signed Ryan Groy. I re-signed Jordan Mills, and I did re-sign Lafayette Pitts. Okay, just for some depth, but I really don't want him to be a starter, so I'm going to sign some other cornerbacks, and I'll get to that in just a second. And I think this would be just the best option for Buffalo Bills. You guys let me know if you guys like what I did here. So I have Tyrell Williams on a $5.5 million contract. Spotrac does not allow multi-year contracts, so it's just for this year. So $5.5 million for Tyrell Williams. I think maybe even overpaying for Tyrell Williams, but you guys really need an option there. He's young. You guys can go ahead and pick up Tyrell Williams. He's a big, tall receiver that can also stretch the field, so you guys can get some good production out of him. Then I had you guys signing Jesse James out of Pittsburgh. He's not going to demand a big contract. I think $4.5 million is way too much for Jesse James, but you guys can afford to overpay for him. By the way, you guys had $78 million in cap space, and I brought you guys to $33 million, so you guys can definitely do so much more. $33 million by the end of what I just did. You guys can do so much more. Then your big free agents, guys. We're moving on to the big free agents. First of all, Bradley Roby. You guys need to sign Bradley Roby because he can be a number 1 cornerback, but his whole career he's been used as a number 3 and a number 2 cornerback. So obviously he may want to be a number 1, but he's going to be fine with a number 2 as a number 2 cornerback. You guys can sign it for a good $7.5 million, so. Maybe you guys can get it for maybe you guys could overpay for him, get like a $10 million, $11 million contract. But like I said, I don't think he's going to be demanding that kind of contract because he's never played number 1 corner before. He's always been at number 2 and number 3. So I don't think you're going to get a big contract from Bradley Roby. He should be fairly cheap. $7.75 million is what I think Bradley Roby will go for. And then you look at Quentin Spain. Quentin Spain should demand a pretty decent contract, but I have you guys getting him around $6 million this year. So go ahead and pick up Quentin Spain. Like I said, you guys can overpay for him if you guys want. You guys have the cap space to do that. Don't even take my contracts for canon. Don't even take my contracts seriously. Just take who I signed seriously. So we have Quentin Spain at guard, and then we have Matt Paradis, who is the hottest center right now in free agency. I have you guys signing him for $10.5 million. And then I have you guys signing Dante Moncrief for $7.75 million. He signed an $11 million contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but absolutely did nothing. So the next team he goes to, he's not going to be demanding the same money. He's going to take a huge pay cut, and I have you guys taking a pay cut here for him. So I have you guys getting 2 very good wide receivers, very productive wide receivers in Dante Moncrief and Tyrell Williams, all matched along with your undrafted rookie, Robert Foster and Zay Jones. So that's a pretty good wide receiver core right there. Then you have your offensive line. You guys have Deion Dawkins at that tackle position. And then you have Matt Paradis at center. You guys have Quentin Spain at guard. And then we move on to your tight end. You have Jesse James matched along with Charles Clay. And then you have Bradley Roby at cornerback to fill in with Tre'Davious White. I mean, this is the best situation you guys can have for the Buffalo Bills. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you guys like my moves I made? Who do you guys think I should have cut? I didn't make any roster cuts. I just didn't really want to do that because you guys are in a good position right now as far as cap goes. You guys don't really need to cut anybody, but I'm sure you guys will make some cuts in the near future. We'll see what happens. I didn't have you guys signing any big defensive ends. You guys can definitely do that. You guys can get a DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't think if you really want to pay that huge money for DeMarcus Lawrence, but you can. You guys have D Ford. I know he's being, you can use him as a defensive end, so we'll see what happens there. But you guys let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of my season recap, my season preview, and what I did for you guys moving on. So with all that being said, leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.